Yo, I am back. I did not die. Um, the crazy thing about my life over the last year or so is that I started becoming a very spiritual person a lot more in the last year than I ever have. But I started reviewing my life and I realized that I've almost died. And this is not an exaggeration because I've almost tallied them all up 20 times in the last 50 years of my life. And I just got this new kind of wacky flu. I don't know if it's that new one that's going around in Asia. It not fun. It wasn't like COVID because COVID almost killed me. That was horrible. That was definitely a time I almost died. But yeah, I survived this crazy flu without pharmaceutical grade antibiotics. So that's the good news. Could it kill you? Oh, definitely it could, because it could turn into pneumonia. And if you're not paying attention, your lungs start to fill up, and that's you can drown, right? People don't realize that just not paying attention to the signals of your own body. Yep, you could done. Like I said, I don't think it's nearly as bad as COVID, but it was not fun. It's definitely a 2-week kind of ordeal. I was still had a little phlegm yesterday and today. And today's, I think, day 15 or 16. So it's a 14-day excursion. So be prepared if you catch this crap. But if you're not a healthy person, if you have conditions and stuff on the side, you're probably not going to enjoy it. But lots of fluids. You might need some Robitussin because there's a dry cough in the middle, and lots of I would do like 4 to 10 drops of oregano oil and some water in the morning, and then before you go to bed, because that is one of the most powerful natural antibiotics in the world. Anyway, let's get to the show today. I want to thank our sponsors at Quantum Expedition, Shieldfolio, and Deorganized Media. But today's topic is hash madness. Yes, we're here, y'all. We are here. If you don't see that screen there, so one of my predictions from January 4th of 2024 was that I was looking at the hash rate chart. I was like, oh my gosh, it's going to hit a zettahash. It's going to hit a zettahash like in a year, like maybe this year. So I said that on January 4th of 2024. And you know what? I have those tweets up here. Let's take a look. And let's go over zettahash real quick first. And I'm going to pull up that tab. And as you can see, oops, wrong one. So 1 sextillion calculations per second. That is a zettahash. So we were just here, right? We hit 999, and then just the other day, I think it was January 2nd, boom, here it is. 1.019. So that is 1 zettahash right there. And again, this is probably one of my most accurate prognostications I've ever made. But the charts don't lie, people, right? I tell people that tell me I'm crazy for studying the hash rate chart. I said, look, I've been studying this thing for like 6 years now, right? So the analogy I give that people think I'm crazy is I used to sell diamonds. Okay. So back in, I've done almost everything except a nuclear technician. I think there's a whole bunch of jobs that I have that most people aren't aware of, but I used to sell diamonds for a bunch of years. And I tell people one of the crazy things about diamonds, in the diamond industry or in the jewelry industry, that's very different from all retail. It's very different. Is that you do inventory every day, twice a day, right? In most retail, you might do inventory once a quarter, biannually, right? Some Eddie Bauer and other retailers, they do inventory once a year, right? Once a year. But in the jewelry business, specifically diamond business, you count all your jewelry, all your rings, all your diamonds, all your bracelets, all the tennis bracelets, everything gets counted every morning. So it's usually like the manager and then another associate, and literally, you know, I worked at Gordon's. We count all of those pieces up, right? So the first couple of weeks I worked there, you know, you're just basically at your bean counter, right? Like 1, 2, that's all you do. And you learn, you know, obviously you got to take diamond certification, training, et cetera, et cetera. But the first couple of months you're looking at all of these pieces, they all look the same. Like everything looks like the same. Everything looks identical, right? But after you work there for 6 or 7 months, you start to count the diamonds and you're like, oh, that's a nice one, crap, nice, nice, nice. And you can start to see patterns, right? Because you've studied the space and the material, and obviously you have no more knowledge. You start to see patterns, right? You start to see the good stuff that's in there, right? So the same thing is true for the hash rate chart. You can look at the hash rate chart and literally, just like any other chart, you can see if it's going to go higher or it's going to go lower. You just have to know the patterns. And if we go back to the Bitcoin hash rate chart, I'll pull it up right now. You can clearly see, you know, we are going higher, right? Like this is, I think, this is just a 1 month later. Let me pull up a 3-year. Oh yeah. Does that look like it's going down anytime soon? Like, no. The answer is really no, right? So this isn't rocket science. If you zoom out, this isn't rocket science. You can clearly see it's going higher and higher and higher. And then the other thing that is another prediction that I had from just a couple of shows ago, right? And this was an awesome prediction. And I'm glad this one came true too as well. So normally when we get to these points in the Bitcoin cycle, a couple of things happen, right? We either have a local top, or this is the blow off top and we start heading down, or it's a local top, we go sideways and we go higher. And this time, is a little different because usually, like I said, if it's a blow off top and we start going south, well, when we're going south, at that point, the smaller mining operations have to make decisions, right? We have to either close down shop, figure out cheaper energy deals, right? There's like a whole array of things you can do. Start integrating renewables into your model to get your energy per Bitcoin cost ratio down, right? Or you can switch networks, right? And you can use a network that has a lower energy to coin production. And what would that be? Litecoin. Duh. But anyway, as I said in the last show, we're not going to see these smaller mining operations close. They're just going to start getting equipment for Litecoin mining, right? And that's what is happening, right? I don't think I bookmark any of those tweets. I saw Hi Andy, who's like a new and upcoming influencer in the space. He does like, you know, mining. He kind of reminds me, if you ever seen Vosk, Vosk Coin. I've been following Vosk for years. But very similar. They're always testing gadgets and gizmos and mining, and I do that too. The only thing I'm running right now is a Helium node, but he started getting Litecoin miners, and then a couple of days later, I saw a guy that had an operation that was about double to 10x bigger than Andy's operation. And what was he doing? Oh, I'm adding all these new S19s and all these new Litecoin and Dogecoin miners. And what people don't realize is that this equipment isn't cheap, right? It's like right up there with Bitcoin's equipment, right? It costs you like anywhere from 10 to 20K, depending if you're buying the latest and greatest or if you're getting some used and refurbished equipment. But the point is, let's pull up the Litecoin hash rate chart. Boom. So just before a couple days, right? Oh, what was that? About a week before Bitcoin hit its new all-time hash rate of 1.019 zettahash. Litecoin hit 2.09 petahashes. So this is a big deal as well. Let me pull up the chart, and the same thing is true here. You can just see that if we pull up a 3-year chart of Litecoin, the same thing is true. The network is very healthy, and people always say, well, why is it Litecoin's price so much higher? There's only 84 million. First off, you have to realize Charlie Lee sold his position, and I was one of the few people back then was like, he's doing this so it's not a security, people. And that was a good thing, right? People don't realize him dumping his position frees it from being deemed a security, and it becomes a commodity at that point. And that's very crucial to the space. But if he had, like, you know, a Satoshi size bag, right? Now Satoshi has like what, a 1 point some million, I think it's a million and some change in coins. How many did Charlie Lee have? I don't know. I did some research. I couldn't find any links. I couldn't find the transactional hash ID. I couldn't find anything. But I guesstimated, right? So it was probably, I would think, 1 to 4 million coins. So if he sold 1 to 4 million Litecoin on that day, and obviously I don't think he did it in all one shot, but if he dumped, let's just say it's 1 million coins, that's a lot of coins, right? That's a lot of coins. And now we're starting to see why people are starting to hodl Litecoin, because they realize as Bitcoin's layer 1 becomes very in demand, right? High traffic, that's just going to create a higher miner fee, right? Like, that's just basic math. So once we get, like I said, once we get to 100,000, how much is the transaction fee? I think the median transaction fee is still pretty nominal, right? It's a couple bucks. It might be like $4. If you're on a shady exchange, they might charge you way more. But when it gets to like 800,000 or $1 million, what's the median transaction or miner fee going to be at that point? I don't know. Is it going to be $20? Is it going to be 50? Is it going to be 100? Can't say until we get to those time frames. But it is going to make it problematic to use L1 at that point, unless you're moving Michael Saylor size Bitcoin transactions, right? You're moving 1,000 coins, not a big deal to pay the $100 or $50, whatever the fee is. If you're doing a little transaction like I did, this happened to me just a couple weeks ago, right? I said this in the last episode. I needed like $150 to pay a couple things. I had an extra Bitcoin over in this wallet. I sent it to the exchange, and literally I sent $150. The mining fee was like $49.99 almost. I think it was like 50 exactly. I look at my wallet, I'm like, 100? What? I was like, oh crap, Gerald. But yeah, even I make boo-boos. And the way I look at it, I don't even get that mad. I just like, you know what? There's all these guys working hard to maintain this network. Somebody deserves that little bit extra. So I don't even, get that hurt. But what's that going to do? It is going to drive traffic onto one of the best L1s, if not the best L1, which is LTC, right? And I know it makes Maxie's heads like explode when I say this, but it is superior to Bitcoin, right? I can give you another example right now, right? Let's say you made a bet with your buddy that the Cowboys were going to beat the Eagles last weekend. Wrong. Anyway, you're the Cowboys fan and you bet 2.5 Litecoin that, or no, let's just say it's like 0.25 Bitcoin, something crazy. Or 0.025 Bitcoin. How about that? That's a less insane. It's still a lot of money. But let's say it's let's even add another zero, 0.0025 Bitcoin. So it's not like a huge bet, but it's still a lot of money. But you send that, but you accidentally send it to, you saw the address and you're like, oh, I know that one. That's Jim's. Oh no, it's actually Bob's address that you had saved in that wallet, and you accidentally sent that 0.0025 to Bob. Now Bob's all happy because he just found a whole F ton of Bitcoin extra in his wallet. But he realizes, oh, that's probably not my money. So you call up Bob, and Bob's like, yeah, I got that Bitcoin, dummy. Like, what were you doing? He's like, oh, I owe Jim for the Eagles game bet. Now, if the mining fee or the transaction fee is in the $50 range, yeah, you're not going to ask Bob to send you that Bitcoin anytime soon because you don't want to lose it. You want that Bitcoin back, and your Bob's probably going to send it to you back. But if this was done with Litecoin, no problems, right? Let's just say it's 2.5 Litecoin. Oh, you sent 2.5 Litecoin to Bob? Yeah, Bob can literally send it right to Jim or send it back to you, and you can send it to Jim. And it's, guess what? It's still going to be like 2.48999. Like, it's almost still going to be 2.5. That's Bitcoin. No, it's not. We're chunks, big chunks are getting shaved off every time we're moving that UTXO, right? And this makes it an inferior product for daily transactions, right? If we go to BitPay, right? What's the number one crypto that's used in the world for daily transactions? It's Litecoin. I don't make this stuff up, y'all, right? These metrics are important. If you really want to be a key player in the space, you have to realize that numbers matter whether you like them or not, right? This is why I've invested into some S coins, right, that I hate, right? I don't like these coins. They're disgusting. They're foul. They're putrescence in most cases, right? But that's because you have to have some assets that you hate so much. When they succeed, you have no problems in letting them go, right? If it's Bitcoin and Bitcoin's going and you need that money, you're like, I can't sell the Bitcoin, right? Oh, I can't sell the Litecoin, right? Oh, I can't sell your XRP, whatever bag you're stacking, you can't, right? Because that's your savings. Whether you're a Bitcoin maxi, Litecoin maxi, Dogecoin maxi, that's your savings vehicle. So you have to have something else to save in lieu of that, or invest in lieu of that, I guess you should say. But yeah, that's why S coins, in my opinion, are important, right? Because they're a vehicle for investing, right? You're not confusing it with whatever L1 you're using to do your savings in, right? Because it becomes problematic, right? You're like, oh, hey, I can use that Litecoin. And you're like, oh, I really shouldn't use that Litecoin, right? Especially when all the markets are about to go again, right? So I put out a tweet. Oh man, I don't know if I can find that one. I want to say, you know what? Let me see if I can just do a quick search. Oh, dang it. Sorry, give me 1 second. Yep, sometimes the search thing works and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, I put up a tweet probably about a week or so ago that I'm pretty sure we're going to see some pumping this week, right? So my new theory, which has been tested a couple times, is that the ETF is literally there's a 30-day delay when those funds actually secure the Bitcoin, right? So the people put, they hit their buy button on whatever, platform they're buying on, whether it's Robinhood or E-Trade or whatever, and their cash is coming out of their fiat account and they're buying shares of the ETF. At the end of the month, after 30 days of all of this cash accumulating, Coinbase then takes that money around day 31 to 35 and then buys all that Bitcoin for each ETF and then puts it into their actual cold storage for them. And they're trying to, get around that so they can manage their own funds at some point, which I think they should have access to their own funds. But that's how it works, right? So the cash is all stored up for a month, and then boom, they start buying. But if you've been watching, as Bitcoin went from about 108, 109 down to about 90, I think it hit 93, 93.5, 94, somewhere in there. All the big players were buying at around 94K, 95, between 94 and 98. I'm pretty sure Saylor bought more. I'm pretty sure ARK bought more. I'm pretty sure BlackRock bought more. I'm pretty sure Fidelity bought more. All the big ETF players bought more of their own Bitcoin ETF or actual Bitcoin. I would think ARK and Fidelity can handle that kind of stuff. I would think that iBit, BlackRock's, and a few of the others, they don't do it like Saylor or ARK. But again, the point is, I want to say it was close to 500 million to $1 billion worth of purchases. That's a lot of money. And it's only going to get more and more, right? We're starting to hear all these rumblings of, everyone and their grandma wanting to do a strategic Bitcoin reserve, because that's what happens when America or a big European country comes out and says, we're adopting the standard. This is a no-brainer. We're going to have the advantage over everyone if we do this, right? Oh yeah, let's get back into what I wanted to talk about. I give warnings, right? I give corporate America warnings, right? Here's my big warning for this episode to corporate America. Stop wasting money on AI. Please, and thank you. About 75 to 80% of the companies in America do not need AI at all. Zero. Right? And I see a handful of companies out here slapping AI onto their product, and it's stupid and it's literally dumb. Like, you're just wasting millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. If you're a data management company like Databricks or Amazon, right? Like, you're one of these companies, yes, AI helps you manage that data very well. Unfortunately, there's tech companies that even screw this up, right? Look at Yahoo, right? Yahoo has added AI into their articles now, right? You can't even read an article now because it's all screwed up, because the AI code with the JavaScript creates this error and you can't even scroll down and read the article. You actually have to use the AI, and it makes a little summary for you, and you can, if the summary is not too long, you can get the summary, and then if you scroll past it, oh, there's the glitch again. Yeah, so that's just one example, right? That's one example of where AI is already failing, right? I had it fail. I do, some gig work, so I was signing up for this new gig job. They're like, oh, we need your ID for your, to your photo ID, and you need to take a new picture. I had a mustache at the time. Oh, the AI assistant got fooled by the mustache. And people were like, well, how do you know the AI assistant got fooled by the mustache? Well, because another application, because, a lot of these apps, they want KYC. They're like, oh, we need your ID. Same thing happened. I think it was PayPal, right? And then it was because I was getting a little bit of corn back from the Celsius thing. And I'm like, you know what PayPal told me? Yeah, wait 90 days. Yeah, so your AI assistant creates a 90-day kerfuffle, and you think your customers are going to wait around for you to find out. No, it's not going to happen. I went to Venmo. I didn't have a Venmo account. Oh, I'd already shaved off my mustache. Oh, do you know how I know it was all AI screwing up? Because I was approved like that with Venmo, and ping, there's your money. Bye. I threw that corn right into cold storage. But yeah, AI is Not going to solve all these problems, corporate America. I'm looking at you, right? Most of you have no clue what you're doing, and you're wasting millions, if not billions. You know what you should be doing? Like 50 to 60% of this money? Buying Bitcoin. Full stop. And you're not. That's how stupid you are. You're following the trend, right? This is how I see people get wrecked every day in this space, following green candles. And that's what I see about 50% of corporate America doing right now. They're chasing the green AI candle, and it's about to wreck your shit. The end. Buy some Bitcoin and save your ass. Anyway, there's my warning to corporate America. Stop wasting billions on AI that you don't need. It's not even necessary for like 60% of the businesses in America don't need it, right? You're going to a brewery in Bend, Oregon. Why would you need AI, right? I want to read an article on Yahoo. No, I don't need your AI to read an article. I can read it. And now your little AI makes it unusable on the mobile. Oh, great. Great. Another glitch, right? But yeah, JavaScript is a pain in the D, right? Like it's great, right? It makes all this stuff look nice and pretty, and all the stuff we're seeing right now on the web 2.0, it makes it all nice until it breaks, right? Perfect example. Why JavaScript stinks, right? So I've paid my rent to my roommate for 3+ years using Zelle, no problems, zero. And I was actually borderline impressed by this. So I get an email probably like 2-3 weeks ago saying something on my roommate's profile changed. So make sure they've got it all set up. So it's like the first. I knock on my roommate's door. I said, hey, I got this email a couple weeks ago saying your Zelle account information changed. Can you double check that, make sure everything's cool? Everything looks fine. Cool. I sent it, and instead of it getting processed like it normally does, Zelle system kicks out an SMS and sends it to her. It's like, oh, if you want to claim this money, re-sign up for Zelle. And we're like, what the heck? She just did this. So then she clicks on the link. It opens you up to a TPA portal for Zelle, right? It's like a Zelle third-party portal, and that opens up, and then you have to re-register, and she's trying to do that, and it looks like she does everything, but nothing happens. So 1 day goes by, 2 days goes by, 3 days goes by, 4 days. She's like, I still didn't get that money. And I was like, oh. She calls up her bank. They send her to their Zelle department. Zelle tells her, I need to call my bank. So I call my bank. And in between them, I let him know. I was like, this is a JavaScript glitch, bro. I know, because she's tried to log into her Zelle through this third-party portal, and it won't work. And then when she tries to pull up her bank, the bank wasn't coming up in the drop-down menu. It's like, again, this is clearly a JavaScript error in the code. And he's like, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to call my bank. I call my bank, and something that's very important that I wanted to share with everyone that I didn't know that you could do this, but this is very important information. So if you are doing a Zelle transaction and it's still in transit, right? It's in limbo mode. You can go in there and cancel it. And that's what the customer service rep at my bank said. They're like, oh yeah, just go into activity and pull it up. And if you see the cancel button, you should be able to cancel the transaction. So I was like, oh my gosh, thank the Lord. Because, you know, when you do a Zelle transaction or Venmo transaction, they have this big warning they put up, I think it was like 2020, 2021, where it's like, oh, just remember, if you're sending this, make sure you're sending it to the right parties, because once it's gone, right? Like it's poof. It's like Bitcoin or Litecoin, and it's gone, right? It's out of your possession. But yeah, they do have a cancel feature, so it's very nice. So if that happens to you, just make sure it's still in transit. And you potentially can cancel a transaction. That happened. And that's what happened. And clearly, right, JavaScript, not that great. And I put that tweet out today too. And let me just go over that. It should be close to the top. There it is. Solidity is the JavaScript of crypto. Yeah. And it's true, right? Like I tell people, everything can change right under your feet. That's the bad thing about JavaScript. It's really great because you can make all this pretty stuff, but then it's like standing on quicksand, right? Perfect example, right? I'm doing Uber, right? Let's say I'm doing Uber and you're like driving around and you're doing your rides. Oh, and you see a bonus area come up, right? You go to drive to that bonus area, right? They've got it timed so perfectly that they see that you start driving to the bonus area. Guess what happens when you get about a mile away from that bonus area? Poof. Oh, it's gone. Yeah. So this is why, JavaScript is a big scam, because it has no immutability to it, right? And this is why Solidity is a scam, because it has no immutability to it, right? So a couple weeks ago, I think I told this story. I'm not sure. I'll make it really quick, and then we'll get back into the topics at hand. I had about 1,000 tokens on the BNB network called Alpaca Finance. Now I bought these 1,000 tokens. They're probably like 50 to 100 bucks when I bought them. That's it. I'm looking in this wallet. I'm on the, in the DApp section on their platform. Like how much is it? Oh, wow. It's like almost 300 bucks. Oh, I'm going to get that back. Oh, the Binance fees aren't too much. All right. Found some BNB, transferred it to that wallet. I was like, okay, let's do this. And the first thing I did was, it's like, oh, first thing, claim your rewards token. So I processed that, boop, 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 boop. And I got my like 30 or 40 Alpaca tokens back. And then I wanted to get the ones I had locked up in their governance contract. Now, little did I know, they had already changed the rules, and I didn't know any of this stuff. So I tried to process it like you normally would. And then after I did that, I paid all the fees and I signed all the contracts. It went through and I thought, oh, where's my money, right? And then I hit refresh on the screen again, and it's be a little glitchy. And boom, the screen comes again. It's, oh, you're trying to get governance tokens. You need to click here. Then I click there, and it's like, oh, you need to connect your wallet to this new contract and blah, 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 blah. And I processed it again, paid the transaction fees, and was like, waited, nothing. So then I pulled up, go into Etherscan, looking for my transaction. Oh, there's my transaction. There's a process. There's the transaction hash ID. And then you get to the section in the column that says tokens, and you can see, all these other people's 100, 500, 700, 1,000, 1,100. Mine, 0. So in the processing of my rewards, that worked. But then I tried to process the government's tokens outside of that new contract. And what did it do? It erased my position. So now it's like I had no tokens locked up in that contract, and I lost all that money. So yeah, BNB runs the EVM, and I tell people the Ethereum virtual machine is great until it breaks, right? It's better than Solana, but it's not better than Litecoin and Bitcoin. Litecoin and Bitcoin, I tell people, you could give somebody literally 10 Litecoin, and you can give them the seed phrase to the wallet, and that person could put it in a book, and that book could get lost for 100 years. And that great grandkid, whatever, I don't know how many generations, might be 4 greats in there. They find that book. It was like in the, your one of your grandparents' libraries, and you found it, and you find that seed phrase, you put it into a Litecoin wallet, and boom, those 10 Litecoin are still there, or your 10 Bitcoin or whatever, because it's immutable, right? It will be etched. It's almost like etching it in stone. That's the difference between Solidity and Python, and Solidity and Script. Again, these things work. Ethereum works most of the time until it breaks. Solana works some of the time until it breaks. But yes, these are the superior L1s. Bitcoin, Litecoin, everything else, in my opinion, is garbage. I'm sorry, I've been doing this a long time, and I have plenty of Ethereum wallets. I can pull up wallet after wallet after wallet and show you, NAN, 0, $10, $4, right? So you can do whatever you want with your money. And I know I have a whole bunch of meme coins because I believe what Murad's been saying for a long time. I've been into meme coins since before Elon knew what Doge was, right? So yes, I get it. People like to gamble. You can't deny that fact. Back into Bitcoin, I had another amazing story. There's a couple I wanted to share before we head out today. I think we got another 10 or 15. Yep. The first is this one right here. Yeah, let's watch the Saylor one first. This one's a great one. What? Did I just hit mute?
That's because so they're generating a 3%. That 320 billion, that is destroying $32 billion a year. They are destroying $3 billion a month in capital because they're generating a 3% after-tax yield at best, and the cost of capital is 15%. So take 12% negative real yield on that. That is the cost, multiply 325 billion times 12%. That's what the shareholders are paying right now for that. The second point I make is, if you look at Microsoft, for example, 98.5% of the equity value of Microsoft is based on forward expectations of quarterly earnings. And 1.5% of the value of Microsoft is based upon tangible liquid assets. And another way to say it is Microsoft is 144 times levered to their quarterly earnings. If they earn $3 billion a quarter or X billion, whatever the number is a quarter, more than that, I guess, but you multiply it by 144x, right? And if they miss by $1 billion, it's 144 billion where you move. And the reason why operating companies are like that is because the SEC 33 Act and the SEC 40 Act required that operating companies hold no more than 40% of their liquid assets in securities. So normally they'd use treasury bills. And treasury bills, as we just showed on that chart, are toxic. It's toxic capital. It's poison. You might as well just inject poison into your veins, right? You're bleeding 10% of your capital a year. Yeah. So they don't keep the capital. And Bitcoin is a major revolution. Because starting in 2025, you can account for Bitcoin on fair value basis, which means that Bitcoin is just as good as treasury bills, and it's a commodity. So you can have 100% of your balance sheet in Bitcoin, and what that means is Microsoft, if they just stopped dividending out their cash flow and stopped buying back their stock, and they convert it to a Bitcoin buy, and you crank in like a conservative, like a 21% assumption, like half their cash flow in Bitcoin, you make $1 trillion over 10 years. You put all your cash into Bitcoin, you make $2 to $4 trillion for the shareholders, right?
If Berkshire
2 to 4.
No, if Microsoft
did it.
If Berkshire did it, they would make more, right? I mean, they've got if they flipped that, put $300 billion into Bitcoin and grow 21%, you're generating $60 billion a year of investment income.
Michael, how much do you cold call? Like, meaning, how much do clients call you versus you call them? Are you also
people
prospecting?
Contact me?
Okay.
Like I'm not out there. Like I'm not out there trying to get in the doors to pitch this. I just do it as a public service. I mean, my day job is I focus on MicroStrategy and our capital markets activity, and we're going to do an equity or a debt raise or something, and then my copious free time, I advocate and educate on Bitcoin, and then as a result of that, I've got 3.7 million followers, so I get a lot of inbound people. I talk to people like Similar Scientific, where the CEO calls me and says, I want to talk about what you did, explain it. and I'll get inbound calls from people that want to be on a Bitcoin standard, and I'll explain what we did and how we did it. And sometimes I'll brief the board of directors or the officers and directors. But
how often are those calls prime ministers or presidents of countries?
Sometimes it's politicians, sometimes it's governors, sometimes it's senators, sometimes it's congressmen, sometimes it's
Billionaires
others.
And
a lot of,
I guess what I'm asking that question is, like, I wonder if you would be, open to the idea, or would it even be that way? Because I think in this space, if you were to call somebody at Berkshire and say, hey guys, can I come? Can we spend an hour together? Can we get 30 minutes together to talk to you about this? To see what that would look like. I wonder what that conversation would look like with you and Buffett if you sat across from each other to present this to him.
I'd be willing to bet you that if I had an hour alone with Buffett in a calm environment, I'd walk out and he would say, this Bitcoin thing's a pretty good idea. Charlie would have liked it. We're going to buy some.
Have you made the cold call?
I have not.
Why not?
Because Bitcoin's on a need-to-know basis, and people have to feel like they need to understand it, like they've got a problem in order to have an open mind. And if they don't acknowledge they have a problem, they don't have an open mind, and they take a conventional view toward the world, it's like the people with a strong corporate view and a healthy company and a strong conviction in their company, they don't have an open mind to a profound paradigm shift. They don't want to embrace that idea.
Maybe the call to Buffett could be seen as a public service, and you want to be a public servant. So if you were to make that public service phone call and you guys sat down and spoke, and you went to Omaha, and all of a sudden he comes out and says, we've made a decision to buy $100 billion of Bitcoin after my conversation with Michael Saylor. I think that's a public service.
I will say, for the record, I'm happy to go visit anybody that has $100 billion of cash that's sitting and burning $10 billion of shareholder value a year. I will go visit you, and I will provide you with all of the information you need in order to be convinced that you should flip to the Bitcoin standard. That 32.
Boom. So these people that think, Michael Saylor doesn't know what he's doing, because there's a lot of people now that, all the haters are coming out, right? We've seen it from MSNBC and CBS. And again, we start seeing, we're going to see celebrities, right? We've seen it before. We'll see celebrities start talking smack on it too. But the point being is that they're, even Skrelly, Pharma Boy, he's like, Saylor's going to get wrecked. I'm like, dude, are you kidding? Like, why do people even have this guy? Just because he's a pharma billionaire brat, you think he knows anything about this stuff? He knows like this much about the space, literally. But yeah, for the people who think they're smarter than Michael Saylor, let me just remind you, because I'm a pretty smart guy. I don't think I'm as smart as Michael Saylor, because let's pull up his credentials. So, as you can see, Michael Saylor went to MIT, a full Air Force Reserve Officer Training Corps scholarship. He was a member of the Theta Delta Chi fraternity and obtained dual degrees in aeronautics and astronautics. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, he's a rocket scientist. Not kidding. So if you think you're smarter than Michael Saylor, just remember, you're probably not. The end. Let's get into a couple other cool stories before we head out for the day. One is down here right below this one I had saved up. And oh yeah, this is a great one too, because this is huge. We're just gonna watch this real quick because this is only.
If you accumulate a lot of wealth in Bitcoin and you just burn the keys when you leave, you're making a pro rata contribution to everybody that owns Bitcoin in the world based upon their contribution and their knowledge of Bitcoin. So I think that supporting Bitcoin as a protocol for prosperity is just a great thing to do. And otherwise, I think, take the Bitcoin with you.
Yeah. Will you be known?
Again, this is straight out of Satoshi's own words, right? If you ever go to the Satoshi Nakamoto, I think it's called the Nakamoto Institute.org, you can look at all of his writings, all his emails, and Satoshi actually said this to somebody, right? If you lose your keys just or you pass away and you didn't will the keys to your relative, just think of it as a donation to the network. And this is so true. If Michael Saylor was to do this, holy moly, I don't I wish that Michael lives a long, healthy life, but he owns a lot of Bitcoin. If he was to pass away, the price of Bitcoin, I don't think it would happen that day, but within a couple of weeks, yeah, we would see a pretty sharp increase, I would think, in the price over the following month or two. But yeah, this is, you know, unprecedented. He's telling his followers, like, I'm not gifting my personal Bitcoin. Let's not get confused. He has a personal stash and he has a corporate stash. He's not talking about the corporate stash because that's like almost a 500,000 Bitcoin, right? 400 and I think they're close to 450 or 460,000. I stopped paying attention because he buys it so much Bitcoin. It's just getting crazy. But that wasn't the story I really wanted to focus on. So let's get back to my page. I think it's like one or two under this one. Yeah, this is the one. This is super important.
Looks at how digital currency is gaining traction locally as well.
Places like this on 4th Street Mall actually accept the digital currency Bitcoin, and it's as easy as paying with any other type of payment. Easier and inflation-proof, crypto fans say, since there aren't any transaction fees. Confirm. Oh, wow, there was a strike.
That's in a second.
Awesome, and that was it.
I like the whole concept and ideas behind it.
Drip Studio in downtown Honolulu is one of a few businesses in Hawaii that accepts Bitcoin and has become a de facto hub for the now unregulated local crypto industry.
Yeah, T, perfect.
Joe Kent of Grassroot Institute is a regular. The think tank pushed the state to lift regulations on cryptocurrency companies, no longer requiring them to have a money transmitter license as of July 1st this year. Because crypto doesn't rely on banks to verify transactions, advocates say it offers economic freedom and a way to hedge against inflation.
I mean, we've already seen the cost of living go up and up and up. A lot of that is because government prints so much money. But with Bitcoin, you can't print money. The supply is capped, and that makes it a much more stable source of value.
But critics warn it's not for everyone. Crypto prices have been known to rise and fall drastically and are driven by speculation. Investors have no protection or recourse if they lose money. Economist Paul Brubaker calls crypto a medium of exchange for criminal activity. That hasn't deterred schools and nonprofits from accepting cryptocurrency for donations, with protections in place to prevent fraud. Mid-Pacific Institute recently changed its policy to allow a donor to make a $200,000 gift.
Our goal is to make giving convenient for our donors.
So again, I just want to point out that there was one lie in there, great little story from Hawaii, that, you know, the one, you know, critic was like, oh, it's used for crime. Let me point out that 98.50% of all crime in the world is done with USD. Let me repeat that. 98.5% of all money laundering, human trafficking, drug, weapon smuggling, etc. 98.50 is done in USD, not Bitcoin, not Litecoin, not Dogecoin, Benjamin Franklin specifically. So stop it with that big fat lie, because it's a whopper, right? That's a huge difference, right? Oh, it's used for all crime. Yeah, 2.5% of crime. 98.5 is done with the dollar. So again, remember to always shoot back with that one when the cuckoo for Cocoa Puff people come up. But why this was very important? This is very important for a couple reasons. One, if we go back, I found an article from just a few years back. Let me pull that up right now. Basically, you know, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency were illegal in Hawaii from 2016 to about 2020. So this is a huge change, right? We went from nope, nope, to now we have local businesses adopting it because they see the benefits, right? If you're that guy that owns that little coffee shop, right? He probably makes somewhere to 50 to like 100K in profit a year, right? If 2 to 10,000 of that goes to Visa, MasterCard, Amex, etc., because it is a big chunk, that's a lot of money. I can buy my kid a used car money, right? That is, we can go on vacation for a couple of weeks to a nice place and, a nice resort, not the low end stuff, not the mid end stuff. We can go to the nicer stuff, right? Like it gives you extra capital to reinvest in your business or reinvest into other things. So that's a huge deal that we're now seeing the smaller businesses put the puzzle together and say, oh my gosh, if I take Bitcoin payments, I might save $2,000 next year. Now, if you're a huge mega business like Walmart, that's not a big deal. You're a small to medium sized business. That's a huge deal. That is a huge, huge deal. But yeah, let's just go over this article really quick. But as you can see, yeah, so it's now legal for cryptocurrency exchange platforms to do business in Hawaii. Consumers under a 2-year pilot project began on Wednesday. And this article was from 2020. So this is it again. It's 4 years later, and we're starting to see these businesses put the pieces of the puzzle together and realize that they were using the Lightning Network. And what I tell people when we're talking about L1 and L2, if you're explaining this to new people, this is a great analogy. I came up with it like a month or two ago, right? So basically, it's a 4-lane highway, right? The 2 lanes on the right are L1, and traffic is going pretty steady and smooth. And then the 2 lanes to the left, they're the fast lanes, right? That's the L2. That's the Lightning Network. And then we can do daily transactions on there. So again, I do see the Lightning Network becoming bigger because for using daily transactions, that's what you're going to do. If that's too complicated for you, because again, L2s, right? They are a dime a dozen, right? Some are good, some are horrible. Lightning Network is a pretty good L2, but if you want a solid L1, again, Litecoin is the choice, right? I always tell people the way I look at it is Bitcoin is my savings account, Litecoin is my checking account. But right now, Bitcoin and Litecoin, I'm trying to save in both, right? I'm not trying to spend my Litecoin because it looks like both Bitcoin and Litecoin are about to go super vertical after this week. So the 7th through the end of the week, because that's usually when those ETFs process. And I think we're going to see it go back up to like 100K, maybe like 105. And then that Zeta hash came up on the 2nd. So we're going to see a big move somewhere around right before the inauguration, right? So right between the 16th through the 20th. And then again, if we don't hear any good news from the new administration on what we all think is coming is the SBR getting approved, either in executive order form or being pushed in the early days of the new Congress and Senate, and then Donald can possibly sign it into law. But if we don't see some momentum, we might have a local top, right? We might have some pullback because, the crypto markets are always reacting heavily to good and bad news. So if we don't see or hear anything from the new administration within the first week or so about Bitcoin, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a pullback after that pump we see on the 16th through the 20 something. And we might, like I said, we might see a pullback after the inauguration if we don't hear that wonderful news that all of the Bitcoin and crypto community wants. It just legitimizes the space. But we can see the writings on the wall. Gary's out. The new SEC chairman. I mean, I don't know who it's going to be because remember, Senate still has to get approved by a bunch of people, right? but we are going to get a new SEC chairman. Hopefully they're pro crypto. And that would be a great thing. We all thought Gary was going to be the one, right? And he was actually the opposite. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing, and he basically put the kibosh on most of all the things we thought were going to happen. But if Donald really wants to attack the U.S. debt and save America, the only way really to do it is a strategic Bitcoin reserve. I've been saying this since 2020. So the sooner America makes this move, the better, because again, if they do start liquidating their precious metals like gold and silver and platinum, yeah, it's going to obviously demonetize the precious metals markets, which I said is coming. That's why I tell people, I've been warning people, don't be saving in gold. Here we are. You got Michael Saylor saying, yeah, just sell all your gold. And people are like, what? Yeah, the gold bugs don't like hearing that because their price of gold is going to go down at some point. But yes, everything against Bitcoin goes to zero over long time frames. That's what you have to realize. I said this to somebody who was in properties. Yes, I wouldn't be investing heavily in the properties. Like, yes, you have one or two and that's it. Don't be stacking up properties if you're a billionaire thinking that's going to store your wealth. It's not. You're going to buy that house for a couple mil, like 20 mil, whatever it is. It's a beautiful house in the mountains or whatever. And 10 years from now, it's not going to be 20 mil. It might not even be 10 mil. It might be like a couple mil, because Bitcoin is going to reprice everything in every market. And the more valuable and over bloated the market is, the more Bitcoin is going to bring it down to the mean price, right? Like a 50-year average price, not like a 10-year. We're talking like a 50-year mean average price when it comes to gold, when it comes to real estate, when it comes to all these very expensive things, and diamonds, right? Like, yeah, diamond people don't want to hear that stuff either. But why, again, we live in a digital economy. None of these things have digital properties, right? And I know people will say, oh, well, what if the internet goes out? Yeah, the internet goes out. Yeah, you better have a gun. Full stop. But yeah, if the internet goes out, we're all in trouble, right? And to get into just a little bit of the drones before we head out. So if you see my video, I highly recommend checking it out because I was pretty spot on. If you didn't see the Sean Ryan video that came out about the bomber, the Cybertruck bomber, it was a warning because of the drones, right? And my new running theory is that if they're not our DoD drones looking for potential threats in our harbors, it could be, this guy says it's China trying to nudge us. And it literally, in my opinion, is China is threatened by all of this SBR stuff. So they know they screwed up royally when they dropped the ball and kicked out almost all the miners. Not all of them, but they kicked out about 98% of all the miners in China. And again, I said when they did that, that's like, you're like on one of these galleons where they're like looting all this gold from, south, the 15 or 1600s, and you're in the middle of the ocean, and the captain's like, throw all the gold into the ocean. You're like, no, bro, we're gonna throw you in the ocean. And this is how silly again these people are. But yeah, so my new theory is that, oh, thank you for pulling that up, is that China is trying to poke at us and probe us because they know we're about to pull a fast one, and a legit fast one. This isn't like something that's illegal or immoral. It's just, you've got the drop, right? Oh yeah, there's the email about the guy saying what he did, why he did it. But it again, it all makes sense, right? If we go to a Bitcoin reserve, it destroys. Yeah, I know you can't barely read it. But basically, this guy's warning was that we have these drones, China has these drones, and people need to know about this technology. And like I've said, and again, oh geez, I just forgot his name. The guy that you shared this tweet from. Me and him have been saying for him a lot more on this topic. Ashton Forbes, thank you so much. Me and Ashton Forbes are probably two. He has a much bigger following than me, but two are the smaller fries out there that have been saying that there's a new evolution of physics that's about to be released to us, right? Like this is just how it is, right? There's all of this science and all of this. Oh, and yes, of course, Nick as well, and Bitcoin Live, the community here as well. There's another show, I think, is it Sid does a show, and they talk. You guys talk a lot about that stuff as well. Forgot to point that out. There we go. Boom, I called it. But the point being is that all of this technology is slowly being diffused to the public. So it's not so overwhelming, right? That's a part of it. And at the same time, so they can start utilizing this technology because we have to, right? Like it's where we're at. If we want to grow as a society, culturally, technologically, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I mean, yeah, follow Ashton if you're into that kind of stuff. If you're into neophysics and 0-point energy, etc. He's a really smart guy. He's one of the few cats has pointed out there's this video of the plane, the MH370, and it is alleged, and with this video, you can see with multiple filters that it would be very hard to make this video a forgery. And people say AI. It's like, no, AI can't do this shit. Okay. I asked Grok to make a fucking chart last week. It couldn't make a chart, right? And then on my anniversary the other day, it's like, oh, we'll make you some anniversary pictures for your Twitter anniversary. Yeah, first guy was an Asian guy, second guy was a black dude, and I have no problems with that, but it didn't look like me at all, right? So can't make a chart. Doesn't look like me. Oh yeah, and then go ask it your social credit score on Twitter. Go ask Grok your social credit score on Twitter. I bet you it's a 38. Like 95% of everybody on Twitter has a 38. So again, showing you that AI is not as bulletproof and amazing that everyone thinks of that, right? You can't make a chart. You can't draw a picture of me, even within like 5% accuracy, right? Like every photo that Grok has tried to generate of me, I've seen out of maybe a dozen, one looked a little bit like me, like maybe 10% like me, maybe 20. I'll give him 20. But yeah, so I think that China is very threatened by this whole Bitcoin reserve talk. And they're trying to either probe us or poke us to get us to do something dangerous to get them to, to pull us into a war with them. And I don't think, hopefully we're not going to fall for it if that's what's going on. Because again, I'm speculating at this point. I'm speculating on it's China's drones. I'm speculating when I did the video the other day, I had a lot of solid intel on that I used that to make that video. But again, this theory that, China's poking the honey badger because we're talking about the corn, it's pure speculation, but they're, if you take a step back, it makes sense, right? China is losing the game of Bitcoin. They said everyone's gonna die, right? We talk the Bitcoin standard, everyone will die. It's like, no, bro, that is the biggest load of malarkey ever. And now that America is about to adopt it, yeah, they're kind of freaking out. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. As you can clearly see, the hash rates of Bitcoin and Litecoin are off the charts. New records for both almost within a week of each other. Hold on, keep hodling, keep stacking. Want to thank our sponsors again, Quantum Expeditions, Shieldfolio, and Deorganized Media. I want to thank Nick for hanging in there because I know he's not feeling too well today, so I hope he feels better. And again, thank you so much for checking out my show. please share it. I always put valuable and helpful information, and it's always totally free. I never ask for any money. That's what separates me from a lot of other clowns out there. So anyway, again, don't forget, if you go to Bitcoin Live, hopefully Nick will flash it up. There should be a Shieldfolio discount code if you did want to get one of those. But again, thank you so much. God bless and have a great one. Peace.